got governmental initiatives like Operation Warp Speed, and there are other international initiatives, efforts that are increasing the funding and the speed of research at which we're finding out about this virus and developing a vaccine. Do you think the speed that we have achieved of this gathering of scientific knowledge is sufficient?
Well, a couple of things there, that one which is in our control and one which is not. The development of these vaccines, multiple vaccine platforms, multiple vaccines, both in the US and elsewhere, is simply a remarkable accomplishment. The fact that we're, sitting here 7.5 months out from discovery of a new agent, and in some cases with vaccines, we've never actually had the platforms available before that we're now using to deliver these vaccines. And with the fact that we have as much going on as we do is a real testament to the R&D capacity of the world. I give everyone great credit for that. I think the challenge with that is that people are still yet skeptical. Have we taken steps that skipped over very important considerations about safety, about how well the vaccines work? And I'm quite confident at this point we haven't. I think that we learned to rather do things in sequence. They did them simultaneously at great cost. By the way, these are costly things to do. We're creating millions of doses of vaccines that may never get used if they don't get approved, but we want them available at the moment that a vaccine might get approved, if in fact it does. That's expensive. So I would say that in that regard, I think Operation Warp Speed, I think what the Europeans are doing, I mean, we're still learning a lot more about the Chinese and the Russian vaccines, but I'm optimistic that everything that could be done is being done. Now, the next question, though, is does that mean that we're going to have safe and effective vaccines in the near term? And I think that's what we don't know yet. And I say that for two reasons. One is that you can't study the safety of a vaccine for 3 years when you're in the middle of a pandemic wanting that vaccine today, because 1,000 people a day are dying right now. Every day we don't have the vaccine is another day we lose lots of people. So there's a natural tension there. We want these vaccines as soon as possible. Are we going to wait 3 years like it might be if it were a standard vaccine that would take 7 to 10 years of development before it were licensed to find out whether or not you still have protection 2 years out after the vaccination? No, we're not going to wait. If there are long-term safety issues, which, at this point, we don't have reason to think that there will be, but could there be an antibody-dependent enhancement type reaction that occurs 2 years from now if I get infected with the natural virus and having this low-level antibody production? We don't know that. And I think that in that regard, that's a challenge because the public's going to want an absolute guarantee of safety. We have to say, in the first 6 months, of using this vaccine in research protocols, this is what happened or didn't happen in terms of protection and safety. So I think that that's where we're going to be with the vaccine going forward. And my concern is that we've now interjected the politics of vaccine approval into this, which has made for an incredibly complicated and even toxic experience. And the reason I say that is because just today, an article published by the commissioner of the FDA and the senior leadership there boggles my mind that they have to publish an article saying that they're going to hold to the science for these vaccines. Yeah. I mean, I would never have imagined that being necessary for a vaccine to be successful in the public acceptance. But yet, on the other hand, a survey data that came out today also shows that 63% of Americans either won't take the vaccine or are highly skeptical of the safety of this vaccine or vaccines. So we're in a very tough spot to make sure that we don't have a vaccine approved for reasons other than the science before the election. At the same time, we also know that these vaccines are desperately needed. We need to get them out. How do we convince the public, where anti-vaccination activities are already ongoing, that it is the vaccine you should take? It will have a difference, make a difference. And so I think that's the challenge. The final piece I would just add on the vaccine thing, which is, kind of all of our collective worries, is just how long will these vaccines last? Meaning that if you do get vaccinated, because we know we're seeing reinfections already. We're seeing individuals who were infected early in the pandemic who now 2 and 3 months later, 4 months later, are breaking through with second infections. And there's only been 8 of these documented so far. And you say, well, that's hardly anything. But that's also because to be actually documented to have had reinfection means you had to have a virus isolate with the first infection and one with the second infection, which almost no one out of the millions and millions of cases ever has done. So it could be that reinfection is more common than we realize, which says you don't get durable immunity necessarily. And if we don't get durable immunity, that adds a whole new complexity to the vaccine picture.